Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into the world of styling in React. We'll focus on a few key concepts to get you started. One of those is the change from class to class name. And we're also going to use Flexbox to style and arrange our components. By the end of this video, you'll have a basic understanding of how to use these techniques to create a responsive and visually appealing layout within our React application. All right, let's dive in. If we click over on the nav bar, you'll see I've added a challenge to replace our H1 with an unordered list to our nav bar with the following items. Let's create a home, about, and a contact list item. We'll use Flexbox to align those list items horizontally and vertically within that div. We'll also try to remove any bullets and set a background color. Pause the video here and give it a shot. All right, let's do this together. The first thing that I'm going to do is just highlight this div, and I'm going to change this to a nav tag. And then I'm going to replace this H1 following our challenge here with an unordered list. So let's make our unordered list. Okay, we can already see it's taking shape up here in the nav bar. The next part of the challenge was to use Flexbox to align these items horizontally and vertically. But what I'm going to do is give this nav, we can't just give it a class. It actually gives us the question mark there. We want a class name. Let's just give this a nav bar class name. And then I'm going to give this unordered list a class name. And we'll just set that to nav bar list. Next, we'll click on our index.css and we'll start to style. The first thing I want to style is our nav bar. We want to set our nav bar to have, let's give it a height of, let's just say 10 view height. And let's give it a border so that we can see it on the page. There we go. We have our nav bar. We have our border. Let's go ahead and also set this to display flex. And by default, it will set it to a row. I want to align them center, which would be top to bottom within the div. And I want to justify the content to the center, which would put it in the middle of this div. We still have our unordered list stacked. No big deal. We can fix that as well. We just need to style our nav bar list. And all we have to do here is give it a width of, let's just say 50% of the div or the nav. And then we're going to give it a display of flex as well. Hit play. Let's give it a display of flex. It as well will be default to our row. So then all we need to do is give it our justify content. We'll give it a space around and voila. There we go. Now, the last part of that challenge was to remove the bullets and give it a background color. So if we wanted to remove the bullets, the property, as a reminder, is our list style type. And we just set it to none. There goes our bullets. Let's give it a background color as well. So we'll come to our nav bar. We'll give it a background color. Let's just say Alice Blue. And there we go. We still have this padding and margin around the outside of our div. So I like to come into my index CSS. And if I give it an asterisk and curly bracket, that's basically everything as it starts or the default values. So if we set that margin to 0 and box sizing to border box, we don't have any spacing or default padding or margin. So we're good to go. Okay, now let's go back to our app component and we have another challenge. This time is to take this React fragment, change it to a div and give it a class name of app. We'll style that div with a height and a width to fill the page and align them vertically and horizontally on the page. Pause the video and then we'll do it together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is come into this fragment. We're going to add it to a div. Or make it a div and give it a class name of app. Okay, so now we can go to our CSS. I like to put my app right here at the top. And we'll need to give this a height. Let's give it 100 view height. We'll set that display to flex. This time we need to change the flex direction to column. And then we're going to give this a justify content of space between to keep our header and our footer at the top and bottom. Okay, for our main content, we'll go to our main component here. And what we're going to do is change this div and give it a class of, let's just say main content. How about that? So now we have this div with all of our stuff called main content. Let's style it. And for the main content, we'll also want to give it a display of flex. We don't want to change it to a row though. We want it to stay in that column. So let's give it a flex direction of column. And then for this one, now we can align our items to center and space them out. Let's just give it a gap of say 10 pixels. Space those out a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Let's go 20. Okay, one last challenge in the footer component. This one will be adding any JSX you would like to it. Style it any way you'd like to, but position that thing within a flex box in the center of the footer. Don't be afraid to experiment with different styles and layouts. As you continue to develop, you'll find new and creative ways to make all of your applications look great. Keep learning. See you in the next lesson.